Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the spotlight session. You can hear me, right? Yeah, it seems like this microphone keeps playing with me. Yes, so you are here in case you're wondering where you are. You are in the spotlight session promoting community, collective action for climate resilient livelihoods and market systems. And in this session, we are going to talk about the practical examples of locally driven adaptation solutions, particularly those which focuses on grassroots women's groups and how these lead into the long-term resilience of livelihoods for poor and vulnerable groups. So today we have three interesting speakers, and one of them is the winner of Call for Solutions. And we will hear from them what is the context, what is happening in different country context. And then we will hear from the discussants, the reflections, and how it reflects in their context based on their expertise. So we will first start with the speakers, and I'm just going to name the speakers now. And we have three speakers here. We have, yeah, you can see here, we have Sekar Insani, and then we have Jishan Memon, we have Robin Raz Nirola, and then you have me there as your moderator. So first, we will start from Taz. Sekar. I'm going to invite Sekar in the front. So Sekar heads the International Marketing Division at the Directorate General of Horticulture, Ministry of Agriculture in Indonesia. So she brings in the background of agriculture technology and regional planning and has decades of experience in horticulture product marketing and standardization. She's currently involved in ADB IFAD funded horticulture development in dryland project areas. And next we have Zisan. He comes from Sindh Agriculture and Forestry Workers Coordinating Organizations. Can I ask you to be in the front as well? So Zisan works with Sindh Agriculture and Forestry Workers Coordinating Organization, which is a leading national NGO working across climate adaptation, livelihood, social protection, and community resilience in Pakistan. He brings years of experience in community-led climate resilient programs and leads works on livelihood, social protection, and climate adaptation with strong focus on women's empowerment. And next up, we have Robin Raj Niraula from Haifa International Asia. Robin, yes, thank you. So he's a PhD holder in water governance and climate change and leads in climate and environment initiatives across Bangladesh, Cambodia, India, and Nepal with a focus on building resilience for smallholder farmers. So we will be hearing from these speakers, and then we'll be moving on to the discussants. And I am Rosie Joshi, and I'm the researcher at International Institute for Environment and Development, focusing my work on climate finance and locally led adaptation, and I'm the moderator. And sometimes I can be a teacher as well, asking people to be attentive. So yeah, I'm the moderator for that. And I must thank Dinesh, who is here, who has helped a lot. In fact, the session has come together because of his efforts in bringing people together, reaching out to speakers and discussants and putting this session together. And he's also helping with the reporting today. Thank you, Dinesh. So I will request Ms. Sekar to share her interesting experiences from Indonesia and what needs to happen to scale up or what's being done in there. So, yeah, sure. You can be here. I think you need the space for laptop as well. Thank you.
This one, yeah. Good morning, everyone. the topics about the promoting community collection action for climate resilient livelihoods and market system. Uh, if we discuss, I hope it's- if we discuss about climate change, now we are facing extreme weather which will cause harvest failure and decrease of crop productivity. And you know, in some countries, we also facing natural disaster like flood, landslide, etc. So that will affect the distribution system for market access marketing. In my countries, it will cause the fluctuation of some strategy commodity. And you know, because of small hurdle farmers, they're facing the low productivity and profitability with the majority farmers being small holders. So if we talk about how the marketing system will be work, we must do some farmer empowerment. So we should do some empowering farmer groups by increasing farmers' institutional capability to have wider market access, and also the adaptation using the climate smart technology. Even this is climate, sometimes we call it smart farming, climate smart agriculture. We can do it in the greenhouse or in the open field. And how we increasing farmer capacity adapted with climate change by climate adaptation, like choosing some variety that are resistant with the weather, with the pests and disease, and also some off-season technology and other technology, etc. And about for the community resilient, we need to develop and strengthening of farmer economic institution, like farmer cooperation, etc., and do the value chain based partnership development by engagement with the private sector. As the government, sometimes you do some business matching, so the producer can meet the buyer directly, and do the business consolidation of the farmer economic institution. So farmer, not just the small farmers, farmer groups or a group of farmers, but they become the institution. And enhancing financial access and risk management by doing technical guidance or training on assessing formal financing and managing business risk, including price fluctuation, climate, and production. So we want this system is sustainable and bankable. So lesson learned is how we need to establish sustainable farmer-led economic organization and promoting the initiative to increase the awareness of smallholder farmers in concerning the advantage of participating in farmer economic institution, and promoting the commitment of developing farmer economic institution in sustainable manner, and how to transforming farmer group and farmer organization to farmer economic institution, which focus on taking benefits and member commitment in at long-term sustainability, and increasing women participation and actively involve women in household financial decision making. So there are some activities that should be done, like financial literacy education. So because women is decision making, if we do the financial literacy education, training focus on household, not just the farmer or the man, woman, but also his wife. And how the leveraging local knowledge, and we must, you know, create some policy support so we can creating linkage between community level action and national adaptation plans to ensure long-term institutional support and financial investment, and also networking. Thank you.
Thank you, Sekar. That was indeed very much provocative action suggested for development actors. We can probably hear more response to this when we head to the discussion session later. But I'll head to Zasan now, who will be sharing the experience from Pakistan. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Zishan Memon from Pakistan, and I'm from an organization We are working with the farmers for their well-being, and the name of the organization is the Sindh Agriculture and Forestry Workers Coordinating Organization. And we have been working with the farmers since 4 decades on different areas, including on-farm management trainings, connectivity with the government departments like agriculture and extension services. Okay. But we see in our areas, geographically, we are now present in 13 districts of the Sindh. We have also a microcredit arm with ourselves, and we are serving more than 300,000 active loanees from the agriculture sector. So we wanted a kind of model that can address climate risk management, MST, market system development, because we know that farmers are out of the market systems, and what they produce, the other market actors have to decide about the prices they will give to the farmers, and that's, we think, most unluckiest situation for the farmers. So we wanted a kind of a model that can address these problems, the poverty, the climate risk, and the MSTs, market system development. So we are piloting this project in the district of Thatta and Tharparkar. So the Tharparkar district is a desert area, and most of the farming communities are associated with the livestock raising. The second district is a coastal belt district, that is district of Thatta, and the agricultural communities are associated with 2 main value chains. One is the fisheries, and second one is the rice value chain. Both districts are prone to the natural disasters, including floods, droughts, sea intrusion, and extreme heat waves. And we see that both districts are classified into extreme poverty zones by the government of Pakistan. That means directly across the board, all the communities, population, including these farmers, experience poverty in very high prevalence. So poverty, as we know, that's a livelihood risk and posing great miserable situations to these farmers. But both districts are also disaster prone. Okay. So they also suffer from weak market powers. Usually what happens in our value chains, the farmers sell their production to the middleman who purchases their production at very distressed prices. So their profitability is reduced. Access to farmer buyers is also challenging. The middlemen buy these production from the farmers and sell to the farmer buyers, and getting more profit than the smallholder farmer can. So that's also a problem. So what we designed in this project is the main 3 components. The one is MST, market system development, that the farmers will be connected to the markets, thereby they can negotiate for buying anything collectively, or they will be selling their production to the market buyers at fair prices. So what will happen? The members of that group, producer groups or cooperative, will earn more incomes, and that will ensure their food security simultaneously. And the women and youth are also most vulnerable, and we see that as per the Land Tenancy Act in Pakistan, most of the farmers have no documentation for the lands. Thus, they are mostly disqualified from getting loans from the MFIs. That's one problem, land tenancy problems, because there's a pre-education from the MFIs. But we have also an MFI, and we have made it flexible for the farmers to get loans and get into their farm sites. It's a very short time. We are moving very quickly. So next, no, previous slide. Yeah, this is a project. Actually, this is 3-tier resilient structure. We have, 3 main components. One is the farmer enterprise groups, and they operate at household level. In each village, we form these groups of the 10 farmers, and the main focus is climate smart agriculture. So we are building the capacities around the different, agronomy in rice and water pond management, and the controlling diseases whenever there is a outbreak of the diseases during the disasters. So this is how this first group. So the main objective is to increase per yield quantity and quality so that they may can have the more incomes on that. The second is the farmer market collectors. You may have heard about this. So what they do, they aggregate the sale and production and sell it collectively so that they have more prices from the markets. So they are these units, FMCs, have been established at UC level. First is at village level, and second administrative unit is UC level. So FMCs are created at UC level. A third one is the value chain association. This is the agribusiness cooperative. The main operation of this is to connect directly with the farmer buyers, with the financial institutions if they are liking to have the loans for the members, so they can do so. And they can also negotiate with the input suppliers as well. So the main objective of value chain association or cooperative is to create enabling environment. And one more thing, for the climate risk management, this creates a fund for the risk anticipation, climate risk management. Total 10% of surplus amount is reserved for any disaster or anticipatory action or for absorption any shocks. So their contingency funds are allocated under this third value chain tier. So this is a cooperative model. We are going out of the time. So what we think that the resilience is something that cannot be built individually at household level or at farmer level. But we have the experience working with the farmers, and they are so, the ignorance is there. They are not very much literate. They do not have very good market intelligence to cope with the market players. They have minds, people, and professionals. So what we need is that these members shall be combined, take collective actions under agribusiness cooperative arrangements. That's what we have been advocating to the different donors and IDB. Thank you. again, and showing me the time. You sabotage everything. Okay. Four. The takeout. Nothing is working properly. Yeah, this is a takeaway. Yes, here's the key message. As I told you, the livelihood resilience cannot be built, as a standalone activity. It is integrated and structured vertically from household to the systems, market systems. And women economics inclusion multiplies resilience. This is the experience of every community-based organization, and women shall be the central part of the project and shall be the prime beneficiaries of any project. And market power is climate resilience. Simply, the crop production can never improve the incomes of any farmers. They have to do some more things like entering to the markets, replacing the middleman role with their works that can help them improve incomes, ensure the food and incomes sustainability at household level. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll have more time to discuss further. Thank you so much, Jisan, and it was indeed so interesting to hear. We would definitely love to hear more, and we have some more time as well later in the discussion session. But it was really interesting to see how women's farmers engage and how resilience works, not just at individual level, but at collective groups level as well. Before I move on to Robin, our next speaker, I'm just doing a bit of attention check, just to prepare that I may be coming with a surprise after Robin finishes speaking, so just making sure that everyone is listening. I may be coming up with a surprise, so for discussion later. So yeah, I'll move on to Robin now, and who comes from Heifer International Asia, and it definitely will relate to Jisan's experiences, I guess, because there are so many experiences on cooperative that Heifer works on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I can say next. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Robin Nirola and I'm representing Heifer International, but I'm speaking on behalf of 500,000 women farmers in Asia, particularly in India, Nepal, Bangladesh and Cambodia, where we are working currently. So we all know the challenges that is existing, but something is very different, which is, yes, there is a lot of development in the urban area in this part of the world, but the rural area is still far behind. And climate change is disrupting agriculture, and it's no more a livelihood, but it's a continuous risk management for the farmers. And smallholders at the front line have to face it all. Then women carry the disproportionate burden, and only like less than 10% of global climate finance reaches local level, and here we are discussing how can we increase that. Next. So we recognize the barriers that are there, and we know that knowledge and capacity are still not at the same level for women. Financial and credit constraint we all are aware of. Limited access to timely and localized climate information increases the challenges, and infrastructure are barriers. It exists in different part of like this region, and under-resourced extension services delays what is needed, and deep-seated gender imbalances will aggravate the situation. Let's move next. So what we have learned, I'm bringing few examples here, which is digitally empowered women farmers can break that barrier of knowledge gap. And we tried this with 300 plus cooperative, 367 cooperative. They organized those knowledge hub with digital technologies. It was a project, but we learned a lot. 300 cooperative could reach 1 million women farmers through the hubs where they organized together as a peer learning experience. There are more examples I'm not reading out. Next. So this one is from Bangladesh, and cooperatives institutionalizing rural economy. So what are cooperatives doing? What are women cooperatives doing? They are providing services. Yesterday I heard somebody saying, how can we bring adaptation solution as a service to the community and not as a project? So I think that's how cooperatives are doing it. They are bringing all the services that are required for the farmer as per the local context. There are 13 services listed by one of the cooperative in Bangladesh, which is an example I'm using here. So this is how they are connecting the farmers and bringing context-based solution when they need it. Next. So this one is particularly a very interesting example, because after COVID, we learned that farmers will be left behind when the services will be stopped, like transportation. Agri-transport was a big challenge for farmers, so they could not. And all the produces, perishable produces, were being damaged during the COVID lockdowns. So what they came out with is, in this case, I'll move to the next slide. There's a map. So in this case, this is a map of agri-transport. The yellow dots you can see are the agri-transport owned and operated by women-led cooperatives in Nepal. So this is an example from Nepal, and this is also happening in Cambodia, India, and Bangladesh. So if you look at that roadmap, yes, women-led cooperatives are connecting the market with the farmers. This was not existing before the COVID problem. So once we faced that big problem, then farmers were left behind. They came out with a solution, and they have invested a lot of the amount from their cooperative. You can see the numbers, 46% came from the cooperative. Next. There are some services which are particularly important in case of resilience building, changing agriculture practices towards climate smart, less chemical, and this is where Bangladesh cooperative are bringing example. In Jasur, soil doctors are providing services to the farmers, doing the soil testing, bringing the recommendation from government lab to the farmers and providing them with the correct input as needed in the farm. Next. So what are the roles that they are playing here? It is they are playing the roles of trusted intermediaries for aggregation. They are playing the role of adoption and scaling of the climate resilient practices, collective risk management and buffering against climate shocks, financial intermediation for adaptive investment. There's a big story we can bring here. We don't have that time, but access to finance is one big problem for women-led cooperatives. If they have that, if they can unlock that, they can unlock everything else. We have learned that. And inclusive governance and local adaptation leadership. Leadership, of course, is a crucial factor as we all are talking in the forum, in the plenary also, that women should be at the forefront and in the decision table. And that's how cooperative is actually doing it. Next. So there are learnings. I cannot read it out now, but the last one is very clear. Women design, test, and scale solutions rooted in local knowledge and realities, ensuring relevance and ownership. Yes, this is locally led. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Yes, that was very interesting. And from the last two presentations, I can definitely agree that how women cooperatives can shift the discussion around the intermediation, which we have been having a long time in this development sector. How can women cooperatives be a trusted intermediary for aggregation and for scaling up solutions? So I warned you just before Robin came to speak that I may be coming to you, and yeah, I did the attention check. I just want to keep engaging. I know discussion, before I move on to discussions, I would like to request you to turn to your neighbor sitting next to you and reflect on, I'll give 2 minutes to you. Reflect on what was discussed or what matters in your context, any reflection that came out of this presentation or anything that you have from your context that struck you or that you think could be the solution. So I request you to turn to your neighbor sitting next to you. You'll have 2 minutes to discuss this and also break the hearing mode that you have been since this morning. Timmy, can I request you to keep the timer as well? Thank you. Thank you. I can hear lots of chit-chats going on, lots of noises. I hope you're not talking about how good the food is. Okay, if you can hear me, clap once. This is my favorite thing to do every time. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap thrice. If you can hear me, clap 4 times. If you can hear me, clap 5 times. Thank you. And if you love the presentation that was shared, give them all a big round of clap. Thank you. It seemed like it was a good chat, unless you were chatting about food, how good the food here is. I love that chat. But let me take back, and before I call the discussants, I will just take 2 questions from the chat that sprung to your mind, so that discussions could reflect on the room as well. So if anybody would like to speak up, and yeah, there I see. Just if when you are asking question, your name and your association as well. Thank you.
Hi, I am Tahrima. I work for ADB in Bangladesh. Sri here, we were discussing, and her point was in the discussion so far where the government connection is. And my question for you is, what I'm seeing is we are creating the supply side of it with the cooperative and others. So I want to hear more about the demand side. So women are producing. We are training them to be productive, and the associations are there. But on the demand side, I'm sure there is challenge when the producers are there selling it, how the market looks like. That is one. And again, touching the supply chain, have you ever faced, because of the middlemen, once we start bypassing middlemen, it's not an easy way to do it, right? Of course, you get backlash. So if you have faced it, how did you deal with it? So my question would be the supply chain. So government, then we have the private sector who's going to buy the produce, and also the middleman. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes. I'll just, yeah.
Good morning, all. One observation on the soil doctor. I'd like to learn more how it's work at the farmer level. And the second one is all of the presentation was fully engaged women participation. And this is a very good indicator. However, to my point of observation, I would like to hear from the different countries what is the constraint of the women participation in the different activities, because from one country to other country, maybe there is a customary or locally situation that might limit their allocation of the time in the activity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Melissa from Women's Earth Alliance. My question is first to Ibu Tias. How would you scout the farmers to be in the ecosystem? You mentioned earlier about ecosystem. How can, like, the baseline or the minimum standard that they need to achieve to be able to be included in the ecosystem? The second one is from Haver Foundation. We are in Indonesia. Me and our colleague here are having women leaders in ultra micro stages, like even not micro, and we are struggling how to make the people to invest in the collective, because they are in the same level of financial ability, and they are some kind obstructed to be in the bank, formal bank account. And also we also have this cooperative system in Indonesia, but sometimes when they have this, as mentioned earlier about middlemen and so on and so forth, the collective would be kind of like the middleman, but it is hard to access the more higher market, because they are lacking of organic certification, for example, ability to access export quality. And if it is only for local market, then the price or the price point will not be higher to be in the fair trade position. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Yeah, we'll take one more, and then we'll again have questions. No, don't
Right.
worry.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Shalane from the Philippines. I am very interested with the presentation, and thank you so much for sharing the strategies you have. But I'd like to know if you have an existing policy where the farmers, through the cooperatives, can directly supply through a negotiated procurement to government, Just to cite, for example, in the Philippines, one of the modalities that we have to procure is through negotiated procurement community participation. And so farmers, cooperatives link with the farmers, and the farmers' product are the ones that is being supplied in our supplementary feeding program, Bureau of Jail Management, Department of Education, supplementary feeding, and our new program, we call it the Walang Gutom or No Hungry sort of thing in the Philippines. So it becomes easy for us in the Department of Social Welfare because of that modality. But I'm really interested how it is in your country and whether it has been practiced. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll be responding to this after the discussions also reflect on the presentations, as well as maybe if you have any on the questions that were just shared from the floor as well. So I will call on the discussants to the front. We have Alex Lebel from ADB, who is a senior natural resources and agriculture specialist at ADB and have been working on Southeast Asia projects focused on resilience and agriculture value chains. He brings in years of experience working in Central Asia, Southeast Asia, China, and Africa, where he worked for NGOs, microfinance institutions, and sustainable commodities initiatives. So Alex, may I ask you to be in the front? Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And then we have Athena, who is the program coordinator for gender and climate action and portfolio leads for the resilience team in UN Women Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific. Athena works to redesign resilience systems, so working for the people most at the risk, and with 15 years of experience across humanitarian action, climate adaptation, and disaster risk reduction. She has been focusing on moving gender equality from the margins of policy into the core of how institutions plan, finance, and measure climate action. So I would request Athena to be on the front as well. Thank you. So Alex and Athena, they both represent different kind of institutes. Alex representing MDB, and Athena also representing multinational institute, UN Women. And you've heard different presentation, different sharings, different country context around what happens across Asia, the women's engagement with farmers. You also heard different experiences and questions from the floor. And now I'd like to ask you, like from a financier perspective, Alex especially, and also from the systems perspective, what's your reaction to this? What do you see that as the role of MDB, as the role of ADB especially, on where does the financing get stuck? What is stopping from the scaling of financing or scaling of action, or what could actually help in scaling of these actions which are really bringing the solutions? So I'd like to hear from you, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the very well-heated audience, right, and all the questions, so much appreciated. I won't answer the two specific questions because I think the panelists will want to answer, but yeah. What I see first, I mean, I'm very happy to see that different countries and different representatives from government, from other types of organizations come up with, in a way, similar solutions, right? What we've seen is quite interesting and relevant, and what is relevant to Nepal, to some extent, can be also done in Indonesia or Cambodia. So regarding maybe how ADB can intervene, or ADB as a development finance institutions can provide value added. What is interesting, like, as a multilateral development bank, we work with, well, governments, but also grassroots or civil society organizations, with people, so we can try to provide integrated projects. For instance, well, we've been seeing examples, but it's possible into an ADB project to put, well, local level, maybe disaster risk reduction for farmers and rural people. It's possible to also provide technical services to farmers to make the way they farm more resilient and more productive. It's possible to also bring, well, technology, as some of you have been mentioning. But also we do financial intermediation. So I think financial intermediation is definitely a key problem for farmers because of the lack of collateral often, and the fact that financial institutions do require collateral. So we can, of course, provide direct financing, or we can do technical assistance to those financial institutions. And finally, we've been mentioning a little bit, but enabling infrastructure is very important, right? Because often we have a lot of CSOs, a lot of civil society organizations doing on the ground work, right? But we realize that still, well, irrigation canals are missing, rural roads connecting farmers to markets are missing, maybe flood protection is missing. So that's also something we can do under those integrated projects. We can also bring the missing infrastructure, which is still very important, usually at local level. Finally, we work, of course, with cooperatives, agricultural cooperatives or farmers associations, right? And we try to build up their capacity and their, I would say, advocacy and skills in terms of discussing and negotiating with middlemen. And also, we as a development bank, can work at the policy level, right? Together with government, we can realize there is a bottleneck, maybe a law for agricultural cooperatives which needs to be updated, or maybe something about trade facilitation or traceability. So we can also work at the policy level through what we call policy-based loan. We can disburse a loan to a government to actually do any kind of policy actions. So I think in summary, that's what I wanted to share. I think the technical questions better discussed with the panelists. And maybe final remark is that, yes, we understand through what we've been saying over the past few days that it takes time to work with communities, right? It takes time, but it's definitely worth it because then we get solutions which actually meets their needs, right? So we don't want that top-down approach under which we deliver a canal which is not useful. So working with communities through, well, CRPP is very useful because we can really deliver solutions that meet their requirements.
Thank you. Yes, Alex, indeed, very much resonate with what you are saying, moving away from top-down modality to more bottom-up modality. And indeed, for organization like ADB, it's not just financing, but it's also about how the role they could play in systems change, working through policy level actors like government and different government actors. So yeah, that's a very good reflection. Thank you, Alex. Now I'll move on to Athena, and we've heard a lot about the gender responsive or more women engaged climate action, which focuses more on building resilience for farmers. I'd like to hear more about, because you come from an institute which focuses so much on women-led initiatives, maybe an honest assessment of what you feel about this, and also like how can we strengthen more of the women's engagement in such initiatives, and especially also on scaling up these kind of initiatives, what could be done as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No, but thank you so much. I think all our three panelists were really good in driving a lot of the issues. So I'm Athena. I come from a community-based adaptation background. It's the more traditional OG adaptation where we do a lot of this prep and a lot of sustainable agriculture work. But that is way ahead. And I think I really appreciate that CRPP tried to bring now community-based into market design systems, which I think has been there because we've done value chains. I mean, Suzanne has been working for 4 decades already, you said earlier. So you've been really drawing around what the value chains could look like. But I want to go back because, I mean, we're tackling 2 problems, right? The first problem is that community-based adaptation or locally led adaptation isn't as sustainable as we know because of issues around financing. We know that it's the best solution because they are at the front lines. They know what to do. But sustainability and scalability is a problem. For markets, and I think that was a question around one of the participants around the demand side, the supply and demand side. So the question still with markets and climate is that it's an issue because there are resilient shocks and social tensions and instability still reduces predictability and increases the risk for markets. So we're trying to merge two worlds together to be able to strengthen adaptive capacity. For us, UN Women, I think, no, not just UN Women, I think globally, if you'd see, NDCs have been adopted. This NDC 3.0 has been adopted, and at least significant, maybe 90% now of NDCs have very strong gender consideration. So that means a lot of us are actually shifting towards more gendered nuancing on what climate should look like. But I would just go back to we from what we try to do. No, not we, but coming from what you do. So there's 4 things that I think that have really been a way for us to reframe how we do adaptation. And I think a lot of the things that our panelists have already mentioned goes through it. So the first one is still identifying or recognizing unequal distributions. So I heard one of my seatmates earlier talk about social norms, unpaid care work as still one of the key drivers, right? So there are still things that we have not uncovered, while the analysis, for instance, the problem analysis have already outlined like lack of access to finance, lack of access to technology. But I think there's still some things that we can look into. So for example, social norms and unpaid care work, because I mean, women have been like doing much of it, especially during climate shocks. The second part, which I think, and the third part, I think, which have been really strongly emphasized by our panelists, is on redistribution and also on representation. So those 2, I think we've hit the nail in the head on ensuring that this collective bargaining agreements from IBU, but also from Rabin. So there's representation and redistribution, but I think the last part is when we talk about adaptation, especially locally adaptation, it's a rights-based perspective. And I think a lot of it still requires understanding that the people at the front lines are the least responsible for the climate, but at the same time, there has to be a way for us to figure out how to address economic and non-economic losses. So I would probably end before I end. I still have a minute. I think there's like 3 questions I want to maybe pose to the audience, because one, I think when we discuss CBA plus market design systems, the first question is how do we measure success? Is it only looking into the market system side, but are we really looking at addressing inequalities at its core? So looking at time poverty, for example, or because these are drivers for vulnerabilities and like increasing vulnerabilities and drivers of risk. The second question I want to highlight is that, and someone also mentioned it, is around when you work with women's collectives and you challenge patriarchal social norms. So that pushes, there's always going to be a pushback. So the question is, how do we design market systems that provide safeguards that tries to ensure protection of people like women's cooperatives or women's rights offenders? How do we provide safeguards and protection mechanisms? And the third part is, I think we are in a hyper-globalized economy. How do we also ensure that from the demand side, because a lot of people were asking about markets, how do we make sure that we do not transfer the risk back to the people at the front lines? If the demand doesn't happen at the global level because of a pandemic or whatever, how do we make sure that people, the producers that we support, the cooperatives, do not bear the brunt of that fallout? So I'll stop there. And I know those are more questions than answers, no? But I'll stop there and hand it back to you.
Thank you, Athena. You seem to be playing along with me. I love how you ask questions back and doing an attention check. Yes, Athena, I definitely agree with the different things that you have posed about the unequal distribution and the need for redistribution, the challenges of collective work, as well as the value of the community-based adaptation and how we are still struggling and grappling with the issue of scalability and financing for these aspects. So, because you asked a few questions to the participants here, before I head back to the panelists, I'll just get quick answers, just one answer to each of these questions, so that I can bring you back to the room as well. Just to the question that Athena asked. The first question I was asking was about the CB and market design, and how do you define success for that? Anybody wants to add anything to that? Any responses? Or even from the speakers here, if you have anything to add to that.
Number one is the increment in the incomes. Our indicator was that the minimum 30% increment shall come from the production side. That means per yield, per acre shall increase. That can happen from the climate smart agricultures and the advisory services from the government and the academia on the best varieties we are working on rice value chains. So the rice seeds, number one, two. And the third one is water management. That's one of the biggest problem. We are facing the heat waves in the country, and conventionally in the past when there was a temperature around 35 to 38, so there was a set target yield per acre, which reduced during past 10 years. Now this requires water management. Okay, so with the consultation of the government and academia, we saw that the water to the crops should now be given in the night times, not in day times, because their daytimes their heat wave will again affect the crops. So that is why. So kind of similar things. So we have set our target, the minimum 30% increment shall come from the production side. The second one. It's over.
It's lunch after this, I guess.
It was one indicator, and there are more. The second one, reducing the inequality. In our project, we have made it mandatory for the cooperatives that they will include 30% from the women. Although we see they are the women farmers, but they are unpaid labor workers in our fields. So we made it mandatory for the cooperatives. For the 3 years, we will be supporting them. We'll be building their capacities. We'll be providing inputs, supplies for the first time, and then they will be procuring, purchasing from their own, incomes. So, but we have made it mandatory. The 30% farmers will be the women farmers, and they will be paid laborers, and they will be given the equal dividends from the cooperatives income as the male gets. So that's very important, and this will, start that. Structural shift in our societies. The women farmers will get something, and the male will start giving the due incomes to the women. So this is the second main indicator in our projects. You want to add?
Actually, if we talk about agriculture, for women participation, some of the farmer women, yes, we have also farmer women working in the farmer. But some of the wife, we call it women farmer groups. So they process their, not the fresh product become the processed food, like maybe puree, mango, or candy or snack from the salaka, etc. That's if we talk about women participation. But if we talk about our project funded by ADB and IFAD, the target for women participation is not just ADB only want the standard is 20%, but IFAD wants 50%. So it's quite difficult. So like if if we have in the in the field farmer field school etc., we must including women participation in the technical guidance. Thank you.
I want to add to that question, which is how do we define success? So in few cases, we have seen like income is important, but there is something more important than income, which is if a cooperative is operating, what are the assets that they are building for the community? And if they are building assets, that will sustain the income for a longer term. And if they can sustain the income, then only we can think about thriving and resilient, not just resilient. So the farmers should thrive with a sustainable income. For that, the cooperative should build assets. That's where I think infrastructures are very important.
Thank you. Yes, lots to process for myself as well. Yes, indeed. I was just picking up on what Robin was saying about assets, and I was thinking how not just physical assets matter, but also the other assets, intangible assets like trust building is so much important in this context. And I guess there's the examples that we saw earlier about women's cooperative, and the success lies so much in there because of the intangible assets that women bring, the way they work, the trust building they have within themselves, which makes them so successful. So I just wanting to emphasize a bit on that intangible assets of the women. So yeah, moving on to a few other, responding to Athena's question, would anybody like to reflect on anything about the risk, or if you have any pending questions that you had from this neighbor chat that you would like to ask to the panelists or speakers?
There are some questions we want to answer already. Can we start that?
Yeah. There were a few questions from the previous round as well.
Round,
Yeah, maybe you can respond to them first.
Okay, I'll quickly start. So there are many questions, and there's something that I would like to cluster together. Demand side, how are we ensuring? And middlemen, how are we handling? And negotiating for the procurement, how is it possible? I would like to request Sangeeta ji here to just stand up. She is the one who handles all these problems. She is the manager of a cooperative from Nepal. She handles this problem day to day, and we cannot explain all the problems she's handling, but it's possible because women act together, like the intangible asset they build based on the values and trust in the community. One thing I would like to highlight here and unquote, why are we thinking about middlemen? Because we don't see middle women. Why are there no middle women? Because in the community, middlemen are the best business development people, and they do it in a good way to ensure their profit. Now the women cooperatives should learn this, but there's something more they are learning together in a group, which is they are not just thinking about their profit, they are also thinking about equitable sharing of the profit in their community. That's how they are different from the middlemen. And they are able to solve that issue with the middlemen because they sit together with the government and say like, we have examples, they talk to the government and they say like, no middlemen allowed in this community because we act together. We have aggregation facility, we collect it. But there is one more thing that women cooperative have brought from the government, which we call sales-based subsidy. If a women farmer or a general farmer can come through the cooperative to sell their product, there is a sales-based subsidy that comes from the government. It's a very small amount, but it ensures that the farmers can work together. Okay.
Thank you. Talking about the role of the middlemen, they are exploitative in Pakistan. Their role is very exploitative. Today, they are called BIOS, business intermediary organization or persons, BIOS. But we are not replacing the middleman role. Sorry, we are not replacing the middleman, but we are replacing their roles. The cooperatives will take on the direct linkage with the formal buyers. So what's wrong in that? So what the middlemen do, they provide, the advances to the farmers, and buy their production individually at a very distressed prices. That's very wrong. So if the cooperative is there and they've talked to the MFIs and they are providing the loan on some set, repayment interest rates and very low interest rates, the farmers get more benefits. So middlemen in our country, in our area, we have seen that they're very exploitative role. Even if the farmers gets 10%, burden on their incomes, if they purchase, input supplies from the middlemen on a heavy interest rates.
About the demand side. So if we now the trends is about, we call it market driven or demand push. Yeah. So if we have a farmer cooperative, they must linkage with the buyer, the maybe wholesale market or exporter, etc. And from the information so the cooperative got the information from the buyer, and they will coordinate internally and do some, cropping calendar. So the farmer, they schedule the cropping calendar between farmers. That's how the cooperative works. And, in farmer cooperative, I think, I know maybe same with other countries, like we have division from production, division for mechanization, division for marketing. So they are like organization. The farmer cooperatives, the member of farmer cooperatives are also farmers. So from farmer and for farmer. So I think that's the point. And how we engage the middleman in this, in this mechanism, I think we should maybe in our country, some of the middlemen in also like the collection farmer. Is it the part of the farmer groups or group of farmers? They also, one of them become the bigger, the one is become the collector or the middleman. So just, but it's very difficult, I think, because it's need commitment. To ask them to join the farmer cooperative. Sometimes, if we talk about farmer cooperatives, the system is, the supply chain system is like close between them, yeah, open between them, but they close with others. But some farmers, they don't commitment and engage with other, indeed in price, in supply, and etc. That's how it works for the mechanism. And it's the task of our main task as the government is how to increase the farmers' capability. So like we have agriculture extension in the district or province, in the sub-district level, in the village level. They, day to day, they are engaged with farmer, monitor or maybe give the technical guidance to farmers, not just the technical for processing, for technical for production, post-harvest, etc., but also for the institutional capability.
I shall respond to this question. Demand side, okay. So, in Pakistan, we have a 300 million population. I think it's also increasing, and we're half of that, But the country is divided into different geographical agriculture zones, and they are the cash crop patterns. For example, there are two types of the, agriculture chains. One is food staple, like wheat, rice. They are taken in morning, daytime, and night. This is very much important. Every family eat this food staple. So rice and wheat, they are the food staple crops. The other one is horticulture, the vegetables. There are many of our options to the household. They may, select to eat whatever vegetable, but that's optional. So the country is divided into different geographical zones with regard to agriculture cropping pattern. So what we do as an organization, we conduct the sustainable value chain analysis before we embark upon into any project. So what we have selected rice, that's a food staple, and we know from the centuries there's huge demand within the country, and we do not have enough stocks of the rice and wheat within the country. So that's a huge demand. So we conduct this value chain analysis before we work on to cooperatives within that value chains.
Thank you. Yes, very, very practical thing here from Jisan. Yes, indeed. What's the staple food, what's in the demand, what people will eat, and then work accordingly on that value chain. Yes, thank you. So I think there are a few more questions as well, and I know we also have to head to lunch as well. But I'll also like to prepare you that we will go for the next 10 minutes so that you don't only think about food and be here for the next 10 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. It's already afternoon, 12:10, and I'm Rolando Villacorta from the Social Welfare Development of the Philippines. And first, I would just like to make a manifestation of my learnings a while ago on the 2-minute break relative to Hateful International project. That I was really curious why you targeted or focused on women empowerment. First, I have learned that when you empower the women, men go back to the families, right? Sir. And then also children go back to school, and family get more resilient when women are empowered. Thank you very much for that learning. And then on my question, first is currently we are proposing, of course, relative to the projects presented, we are proposing small and medium scales projects, right? Whereby community are still, in between the poor and near poor level. Do you have a sort of a stopgap mechanism? Whenever there are economic shocks, there are disasters. Now, these communities are very vulnerable. So whenever these circumstances happen, they go back. They fall back to being poor, and it would be very difficult for them to go back again on at least near poor level. My second question is, do you also have any plans of getting this, on a bigger scale, not only SMEs, but a bigger scale livelihood component, so that it would be more sustainable in the future, in a longer period of time? Thank you.
Can I answer that?
Maybe we take 2 more. Yeah. I think someone here wanted to speak as well. Anyone else? I guess everyone wants to go for lunch. Yes, Robin, I guess you can respond to that now.
Thank you. Very good question. So when there are economic shocks, I will just give one example. We talk about shocks, when we talk about shock, we think about COVID and a big one. Even if there is a simple price inflation for some commodity, let's say one cooperative is working in one commodity and that commodity has suddenly some problem in the market, then that's a good economic shock to deal with, and they cannot do it alone. So we have examples when there are those kind of economic shock for the cooperatives, for the women farmers, for all the farmers. They sit in the table for negotiation to find alternative markets, alternating processing centers to increase the lifespan of the product is something very important in terms of bringing technology to the farmers. So processing centers sometimes make magic in that kind of shock to help the farmers. And when we think about scale, there is something that we are also thinking about: how can they scale it for themselves? How can women cooperative can scale it for themselves? So for that, we have a very good example of Social Entrepreneur Women's Association, which is SEWA, and this is working very well in Nepal, and they are collectively representing 300 cooperatives of all women cooperative, and they are working with the policymakers, with the private sector, and all those to unlock the opportunities for the women cooperative. So something bigger is required as an institution if we think that they should scale up. If it's a good model to scale up, a bigger institution will be required. And that's an apex body that we have as SEWA. The lady from SEWA was supposed to be here with you, but sorry, she could not get her visa. That was a different problem. And I hope I answered your question. So there's one question which remains about the soil doctor. We can talk over the coffee for that afterwards, but a very quick answer is sometimes we go to the farmers and say, yes, let's do climate smart practices, but the farmers don't know how to sift from what they are doing and why to sift. So in that case, we learned that if soil doctor based in a cooperative can talk to the farmers saying, look at the difference, look at the benefit, look at the change, look at the health impact, this is how you can change. If there's somebody providing that kind of knowledge and service in the cooperative, farmers are willing to change. So if we want to build climate resilience with reducing the chemicals in the farm, bringing climate smart practices, that service as a soil doctor is helping them to solve it. And a soil doctor is just a farmer who has more knowledge and techniques in that community. He's not something like a salaried person. It's not like that. So there are women service providers as well who are working as agrovets. 30% of agrovets in Nepal out of 1,050 are women agrovets who are trained recently, like within past 5 to 10 years. So they are changing it for themselves. They will scale it. Thank you.
Before we wrap up, I guess Sekar would also like to respond to the few questions that was coming from the floor.
Thank you. There are some questions for other colleagues before. From lady from the Philippines asking about how the mechanism for the farmer, you know, they, for the procurement directly to the government. Yeah. So we have like, in Indonesia, we have the program, namely freelance program. So like the farmer cooperative, they must legalize and also have the some specification standard to have a like, you know, with procure catalog, so they can directly go to the like we call it like the kitchen. Yeah, the kitchen to supply the freelance program. So in the HDDAP project, one of the activities is how we give the technical guidance to the farmer cooperatives so they can directly, not directly go supply the product to the kitchen who provide a freelance program. Most of cooperative also directly can procure some, I think, other question is from Melissa. How is the minimum standard, you know, in the ecosystem for the mechanism? The program in the Ministry of Agriculture in Indonesia, we have some like the facilitation for farmers, even for the some input and also some agriculture machinery, and also for the paddy field we have irrigation, tertiary irrigation, and a pump, etc. for the irrigation. And but also, Bu Melissa, we coaching farmer, give the technical guidance for climate farmer field school or good agriculture farmer field school and good handling practice, good agriculture practices, or GAP, farmers field school in GAP, farmers field school in good handling practices. And also if for processed food, we also have how some small medium enterprises, they have the standard from the, they provide, they have, you know, the standard for the requirement for the hazard analytical critical control point, or HCCCP. You know, if for processed food, we call it good manufacturing practices. The standard is HCCP. Yeah. So that's how the government work. Also, we have like what we mentioned before. I mentioned before, we have the agriculture extension. They gave day to day. They guide, they coach the farmer to do some the cropping calendar, how the technical guidance. So that's the mechanism work from the central government, the national government, the district government until the village level. That's all.
Yes, thank you, Sekar. I just got handed a note that launch is happening at 12:30, so we have 10 more minutes. I thought it was for me to cut it down, but it seems like we still have 10 more minutes. So yeah, I mean, there's so much happening here. I don't want to feed the takeaway messages because there's so much here, and I would like you all to reflect on what's the key takeaway messages would be. But before I head on to the participants here, I was just going to ask to Alex and Athena, what would be this one thing that you would take away back to your work from hearing back from all of this, and yeah, what are you going to take back from this session?
Why do we have to take back something? Just kidding. No, but
Yeah,
I
you
think
have to.
no, but I think because I work with UN Women and we're an intergovernmental agency. I mean, we're an IGO, so we work with different, and I think this was a question also earlier in the plenary, like what are the different roles of different stakeholders in this ecosystem? And what I will have to take home is that all your numbers you have to give to me, because I think there's many key players working from policy down to provision of actual targeted support to women, but also working with financial institutions. So us crafting or maybe co-creating that design with you on how that ecosystem should look like is something that I really want to maybe take home and maybe work with you on moving forward. So it's so hard to take.
No, since we have 2 minutes more, so maybe one point about scaling up and one point about my takeaway, right? About scaling up. So it's true that, yes, it's nice to work with smallholder farmers, with cooperatives, but at some point we also want to make sure there is more value addition inside our developing member countries, right? So we do work also on agri-food processing, right? As you've been mentioning, we've been working with countries on maybe setting up, for instance, some small-scale agro-industrial park to make sure that cooperatives, once they produce, they can also process a bit, or you can have processors inside the country, including good manufacturing practices or HACCP, as you've been mentioning, right? We've also been working on food safety, right? Because if you want to produce a standardized safe product, you have to also have some food safety labs that are testing for instance, for pesticides residues, for all kind of things to make sure you can sell on the domestic market, but also export. And finally, we also try to bring better buyers. When we talked about middlemen, right? You also have some big merchants that sometimes are a bit interested to invest or to set up shop in a country, but a bit reluctant due to political risk, due to many factors, right? So we have also a private sector operations department which can directly invest in or lend money to, for instance, investors from other countries that are interested to invest in a specific country. As for my takeaway, as ADB, I think, as being originally an infrastructure bank, we've been sometimes coming up with big projects, infrastructure, without really listening again to the needs, right? So I think it takes time, but in projects we are processing now, we are really having those community consultations and also trying to make our projects flexible so that during the project, communities can be consulted about the building of infrastructure. So when we do those projects with community participation, we listen to the communities and we allow, the projects to be, the sub-projects to be discussed and decided during project implementation under some specific lending modality, which helps us to be more reactive and to really provide, I would say, what people in the field need.
Thank you. Thank you, Athena and Alex. Good luck with asking numbers and Athena taking taking it back with you. Yeah, indeed, Alex and Athena, it's really important that we think of changing the ways we work. How can we shift in terms of not just having consultation with communities, but really making them the part of decision making and as agents of change. So that is something that is really a key message. I guess that's the key message of this forum as well. So that's a very interesting session. And after lunch, we have roundtable dialogue. And I see some of the faces who would be in the roundtable dialogue. And I guess this session was also useful for the people who will be in the roundtable dialogue. I see Neeti in the back, who is going to be in the roundtable dialogue. Neeti is from FCDO, and Paul is also here, who is from IID. So after the lunch, it's going to be roundtable dialogue. We have participants from different ministries. I don't know if anyone else who is going to be at the roundtable is here, but I just recognize Paul and Neeti here. And the discussion after the lunch is the government, the countries, and the development partners and experts. So I think it will be very interesting linking this conversation to that session in the roundtable dialogue, where we are talking about the need for scaling up. We talked about what solutions actually lies within the farmers, within the communities, within the women's group. And it will be really interesting to hear in that roundtable as well. And some of the questions that you may have could be a question for the roundtable as well, about how can governments play an enabling role in articulating actions, and also for the development partners, like what could be the way of scaling up investments in these promising actions that lies within the communities. So I guess it was a very fruitful session. So before we head on to lunch, I'm again forcing you to chat with the people next to you. This time maybe you can make a larger group and chat about how you felt about the session. Last.
I think there was one question which was left behind. So I work with Rabin, with Heifer International, on access to finance, bringing access to finance for the smallholder farmers and cooperatives and the agribusinesses. There's one question, I think, which was asked on how to engage with ultra-poor farmers, right? And I'll leave the question for the panel. I won't take that. But there are some models where we work in Heifer. We call them passing on the gift, where we connect the farmers. But before I go in there, or let the panel go in there, the reason why I brought this in, because this has also helped us in de-risking investment later on. Because of this model, because at one point in time when I brought in the local banks and financial institutions in India to discuss about financing smallholder women backyard poultry farmers, they almost laughed at me. I was a banker myself. They said, tell me, you're a banker, which one on these words are bankable? So they said the reason is we do not even predict the risk. We do not know smallholder farmers, we do not know backyard poultry, because we do not know farming, we do not have all of this information. So essentially what I'm saying is there's a big information gap. When we try to catalyze and try to catalyze financing in different models, guarantees, subventions, and so on, what we have seen that the default rate, the non-performing asset rate is less than 1% in our women smallholder farmer financing. Because of the social capital, they will always pay back. Now we are asking the question if they have made profit from this loan. They may make profit or not, they will always pay back when the social capital is high. And that is built in across the value chain. The agribusinesses they engage with becomes more profitable. But the thing is, the local, that social capital is not even an asset class in the bankability matrix of the BFIs. We are trying to use blended financing, catalytic financing, different models. But we need to find a way to bring all of this proof of concept together so that they do not have asset in their name, right? They do not have land in their name. They do not have asset to collateral. The asset they have doesn't suffice the value of the loan they need. But they have social capital, much stronger, way stronger. That doesn't become a part. So that's the solution we are trying to partner and bring. I'm sorry. So yes, I'll let you speak on the ultra for farmers. Sorry.
Thank you. Was that an alarm, though? Timer.
Maybe someone's calling. It's lunch.
Trying to keep yourself to time. But that was an interesting, that very intriguing thing about social capital and how that is not really counted by the BFIs who just look into the physical assets, and social capital is so much of a value. And as we have seen in examples from microfinancing in Bangladesh, and also from the examples that we heard today, how the social capital is actually helping in the flow of the resources between these groups and through informal mechanisms, because the BFIs, those big BFIs, don't work for the informal groups, women who do not have physical assets. I'm really intrigued by the social capital assets, something food for thought, because we are really heading for the lunch. I don't know if anybody from you would like to respond to that quickly. Otherwise, we can just have chats with along the lunch or coffee breaks as well. Okay. Yeah, lunch, I guess. I can see people stretching as well. So maybe before we head to the lunch, we can do stretching as well. I'm kind of inspired by the stretching that I was seeing in the back. Someone was stretching. Yeah, maybe I guess people need a bit of stretching before we head to lunch. I'm not going to instruct. I'm going to ask people to just, yeah, just like Larissa, my colleague there, is doing it. Can everybody do that? Yes, I hope you feel ready for lunch. And thank you very much. Before we end the session, thank you, Robin. Thank you, Jishan. Thank you, Sekar, Athena, Alex, and everybody in the room for an encouraging participation. Thank you so much.